Hello, everybody. I am Johnny Christ. Now, some of you who tuned in last night know that I gave a little bit of a speech or statement, whatever you want to call it, about the current state of the world and the racial injustice and how I feel about it. Since then, I learned that the District Attorney General for the state of Minnesota came down with harsher penalties and actually moved to arrest some of the other police officers involved in the death of George Floyd. I tried to think about words to describe the way that makes me feel. Happy wasn't there, glad, even bittersweet, or that justice was served, because to me, justice being served would have, people like George Floyd and so many that came before him should have never had to have this sort of thing happen. So that's not justice for me. I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that it took an entire global protest around the world for this to happen just shows me that there's still so much work to be done. Not to mention even the fact that these former officers haven't been yet convicted, which isn't the foregone conclusion to a lot of people that maybe it should be. And that just goes to show that we have a lot of work to do. I think that the conversations can't stop now. We need to continue to communicate and educate one another in an effort to bring light to these racial injustices and ultimately to eradicate them. Recently, George Floyd's daughter, Gianna, said, I wrote it down again to make sure that I don't mess with it, "My daddy changed the world. Let's do our best to not let that become a lie." Roll the show. Hello again, everybody. This is Drinks with Johnny Live. Welcome back. Thank you so much for checking out the show. Tonight, we have an awesome show. It's going to be the last, unfortunately, that I'm going to be co-hosted with celebrity chef Chris Santos. But it's going to be a great one. We're going to be joined by Robert Trujillo. You may have heard of him. And it's going to be a great one. I can't wait to talk about this. Just at the top of it, I want to address the fact that I reached out to Chris over a month ago in an effort to raise money for the Tau Cares COVID-19 Employee Relief Fund. And we started this before the recent events had gone through that have kind of taken away from a little bit of the coronavirus pandemic, rightfully so in many respects. But these are still issues that we're going to have to face over the next coming months to years, dealing with the coronavirus and how it's affecting restaurant and service workers and how it already has. So we're going to continue to raise money for this very great cause, and that's why Robert has joined us tonight. And without further ado, we're just going to get into it, and I'm going to introduce these guys. How you guys doing today?
What's up? What's up?
How you doing? What's
Good,
going down?
good. Oh, I'm so glad to see your guys' faces again. It's going to be sad to see yours go, Chris, but it'll only be for a short time. I haven't seen you, Robert, in a fortnight. How you been, man?
I've been good. I considering, just like everybody else, trying to stay positive. And I know you and I have been texting each other here and there, and we're both busy and going through a lot. But overall, myself and my family is
Everyone's
doing well.
Good and everyone's healthy in your family.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great.
Yes. I think, in these situations, it's important to have a positive mindset. Number one, I tend to, at a certain point in my life, I made a decision that I would pretty much only deal with positive minded people. And I realized that individuals, that were more in the negative, that would rub off on me. And it just kind of made things less nice in general. And I I realize that is something, you can always control your decisions and who you deal with and or how you deal with things. And my direction now as I've gotten older is positive is the way to go, man. And that's how we've been treating the situation, stay creative and stay positive.
That's absolutely, those are great words of wisdom right there. I totally back that. Chris, how you doing today? I know you were busy all day trying to get the restaurant open back up in Vegas, right?
Yeah, I'm actually in my chef coat. I just ran up from the restaurant. I have to run back down after this, so I'm drinking Gatorade today, not Jagermeister.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
The ambassador for Jagermeister is drinking Gatorade. Oh, how the fuck did that happen?
It's probably good though, because the last three of these, the Jagermeister that I was drinking while we were live, kind of led to many more Jagermeisters after we went off the air. So I could use a break from you, Johnny.
Okay, all right. We'll take a break after this.
Although I'm gonna miss you next week. I really enjoy this, man.
This is great. So I'll just plug it again real quick. Right here down in the description below, you can head over to thisischrissantos.com/auction. That's where all the items that we've been pulling together to bid. And 100% of the proceeds are going to be going to the Tao Cares COVID-19 Employee Relief Fund. That's going to help out a lot of families. Every dollar counts, including if you get outbid or you can't bid on something, you can go to taogroup.com/TaoCares and type in any dollar amount. That will help us so much in this drive. And I'll let Chris talk about his cameos that he's doing as well. If you got some fans of Chris and you want them to be berated in the kitchen, I'm sure he doesn't mind doing a cameo for that.
Yeah, no, I'm good at that. Yeah, no, I've been doing cameos now for a couple of weeks. Everything from happy anniversary, happy birthday messages. I've told some bad dad jokes, given some cooking tips and sort of behind the scenes Food Network stories that I'm allowed to tell. It's great. And every dollar that I make through Cameo is going directly to my employees and my employee relief fund. I fear that everyone that's listening has heard me say this already, so I'll do it the quickest version yet. But we have over 50 restaurants and nightclubs. We had to close them all because of the pandemic. We had to lay off or furlough for about 4,600 people. About half of those people still have not received unemployment because the unemployment system is just backed up because nobody could see this coming. And a lot of those employees didn't really have a ton of savings because they also couldn't foresee this. And so we're just doing everything we can. We've paid for 10 or 12 funerals at this point of the family members that have been lost. And we're helping contribute to groceries and rent, basically. And we've raised a lot of money, and it's been great, but it's just still not enough. So yes, every dollar does count. I can't thank you enough for giving me this platform the last 4 weeks.
Don't worry about it. Don't mention it. I can't thank you enough for partnering up on this, and I'm glad you already had the foundation in place, and we were just able to come together and kind of put it and kind of.
But just and you donating what you donated, and Lizzie Hale yesterday with that really cool jacket, and Jamie Josta, like this is significant. I think we're up to about $5,000 in bids, and that's gonna deeply affect a lot of people. It's gonna pay rent for a lot of people for a month. So I can't thank you enough. And Robert, I know I was pestering you and your wife to come on. I'm sorry about all the texts, but I can't thank you enough as well. I know you're an extremely busy man, and it is really, truly, I'm incredibly. I mean, we're friends, we know each other, but I'm incredibly grateful for you being here and being so generous with your time and your auction item, which we'll talk about in a minute. And just as a super fan, this is pretty cool for me. So thank you very much.
Hey man, thank you. And again, what you are doing for your employees is incredible. More people should learn from you. You know what I mean? To have that kind of a heart and concern for your employees, it shows who you really are, and that's really special. So I want to say thank you for being who you are, and you've always been amazing to myself and Chloe. Whenever we'd show up, whether it was in New York or LA, or anywhere, you've always
Or your
been a
or your
first.
birthday party last year
The
was a
birthday
good one.
party was a good one. Yeah.
I got to hear a little bit about that last night, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to hear a
Yeah.
little bit. I was on a phone call with Chris after we went live with Lizzie last night, and he alluded to a couple of things about last year's birthday party. I don't know how far you guys want to go into that.
Well, let me just say this. Let me start by saying this. It originated that we originally was supposed to be us going to his restaurant in New York City, but then he said, "Come by, check out this art gallery, sort of exposition. There's also a club there," and we ended up basically staying in that club, shut the club down, and a few people in the party went home pretty legless. Joe from Gojira was there, and he actually doesn't get out that much, so he had a great time. But I'm sure in the morning he felt it pretty good. But
he felt pretty good. See, that takes you back to Robert's personality and positivity. He just explained the guy doesn't go out that much, and he felt good. He's always.
No, he felt it pretty good the next morning.
That's what you meant. He felt it pretty good.
He took a beating.
Well, the funny part of that story, though, is that when you reached out to me earlier that day, I said, "Why don't you come to Vandal? It's really lively, and we've got this great art, and we've got this banging nightclub that we can go to afterwards." And you said, or maybe Chloe called me and said, "No, Robert wants a chill dinner. He's not interested in going to a club." So I sent you to Stanton Social, I think, or Beauty and Essex, where you had a quiet dinner.
Right.
And then I got the text that you guys wanted to walk over so you could check out the art. And then the next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and me and you are putting back the shots.
Yeah. It was nonstop. But the good news is sometimes when you have those kind of spontaneous experiences, and they're the best ones. You can't plan that stuff. It just sort of happens, especially for us not living in New York City and being there. I was on tour. So it wasn't necessarily a vacation, but days off can be treated like a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty awesome for us, to have that kind of experience with some local people, and the music was banging, and it was a good time. And so again, thank you for that.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, I'm not sure if it's just us, but I can't see your face. I can only see your chest.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
I think my webcam just went down. The rest of the cam's good. Just my webcam.
There you go. We got the belly cam. We can
Just let it ride. I'll fix it in a second when you guys go into another story. But I'll actually set you guys up again. So how did you guys first meet? I heard a little bit about this from Chris before. And how did you guys come together, become friends, be in the restaurants together?
Well, we officially came together, I think that night, really, for me at least, with Chris, was that night. That was sort of the christening of,
because I had met your wife and hung out with your wife at my restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. And that was sort of that was the initiation, trial by fire, in a good way. And obviously I ran into you again at Slayer. I think between Chris and I in our lives, just like you, Johnny, we're busy, we're doing things, we're working, and also, I know for me with the family and everything. So when you're home, you're sort of locked down with the family. Trying to get things like when you have teenage kids, for me, it's kind of like, when I'm home, it's all about the focus and trying to help them and direct them. And, there's a lot of creativity in our household. So, having some experience with that, I try to sort of help direct in the sense that, I don't control the creativity, but I sort of offer the advice, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I try to be engaged when I'm home as much as possible. So, for us to get together on the road like that, or it's usually going to be at a Slayer show, or like, hey, I'm in Vegas, man, we're playing tomorrow night, or whatever, but also I think our friends, our mutual friends who are great friends, I had initially heard about you through, the Veras, actually. Joey Vera, and
Tracy, So I have a record label with Metal Blade. I have a subsidiary record label with Metal Blade, and so Chloe's obviously good friends with all that whole gang.
Yes.
And so that's how I met her, is she would come into Beauty and Essex with all of them. And Chloe's obviously so lovely that we hit it off, and then and my wife hit it off with her, and that's kind of the story. That's kind of the story. Johnny's still messing with that camera.
Is he still? He's still there? Yeah, but you know, it's by the way, it's kind of, go ahead.
But you know, I know you said, you know, when you have kids and you have teenagers, but you don't have normal kids. You have a teenage boy who played with Korn in Brazil.
Yeah,
that's like
I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because dude. It's bad enough that Robert has to show me up at the same fucking instrument, but now his son is too. I'm like, God damn. I can't compete with this shit.
Oh, come on. Well, you know, again, with your children, you don't want to force anything on them. My son chose drums originally at a very young age. I mean, we're talking diapers. And then he gravitated towards, he used to play this little plastic guitar, like when he was, you know, like 1. And I mean, he played that thing to the point where the plastic was grounded, you know, from just hitting it like this and, you know, downstroke and all that. And he played drums, and then one day he asked me if I could show him something on the bass. So I showed him a C major scale, which is kind of one of the first things that you show somebody. And then like a day later, he had it already. And then it was like, you know, the blues scale. And then he just sort of gravitated towards Jaco Pastorius bass solos. I mean, at 11. You know,
wow.
Fretless. I was
That's insane, dude.
So it is crazy. It is kind of crazy that he has the skill set for that. And then, you know, he plays guitar, so he's doing a lot of riff writing and a lot of really great riffs. And now he's also into hip hop too. But again, you know, I just sort of encourage him to have fun and to be creative. You know, the gig opportunities that have come for him, you know, he had to earn them. It was like audition, you know, the Korn gig didn't just get handed to him. He had to prove himself.
And how old was he for that show?
He was 12.
Jesus.
He was 12. But the thing that was really interesting about that was I was gone on tour most of the time. Yeah, I was away, and he really put in the time and energy to learn the songs on his own. And then he's very mature about it. He got together with Monkey, and they had their own kind of rehearsal here at the house. And I was just sort of there to like provide water, milk, and cookies, you know, like, hey, you guys want something to eat? You know? And then he also had done a Suicidal Tendencies gig, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. And he played the whole show in San Pedro. And that was really cool to see him up there with, you know, Dave Lombardo and, you know, that kid Mike Muir. And in fact, the first song, like literally like 1 minute in, he got slammed. Mike Muir ran across the stage, and Ty went up on the drum riser, and he does his kind of thing that he does where he jumps off the drum riser, kind of, you know, spirals off of it. And he did. And I'm thinking, oh, here it goes, man. And right when Mike turned around to go the other way, when my son's feet hit the ground, he got, you know, bowled over by Mike, you know, like it's like almost like a fullback trying to
that begs the question though, has that ever happened to you with Mike being in Suicidal Tendencies? Because I mean, like another point of that must have been really surreal for you and cool is he's probably playing a lot of the songs in that set that you were a part of, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's what was so cool about it, is that. But the cool thing with him was he actually went, like when I played the stuff, you know, I played it and I sort of did it the way I you know, in my style, which is fine. But I was super stoked that he was actually playing the older stuff with a pick. I mean, he was true to the Luigi Mayorga formula. And I love that on a 4-string Fender, and it was just really beautiful to see. And people loved it. You know, for a lot of people in the crowd, when they witness that kind of a thing from our youth, it becomes almost emotional. It's like kind of there's an impact, and it resonates with a lot of people to see that kind of dedication from a young person. And I always say, you know, for all young people, man, that want to play, you know, want to do what we do, you know, and have that creative outlet and are rooted in different styles of music, but in this particular case, rooted in metal or punk or hard rock, that's exciting to me because I don't know how many times I've heard people say, oh, rock is dead, or, it's over, and all that. But meanwhile, you see what's going on, Johnny.
There's a lot of there's not, it's not going anywhere, man. That's the whole thing. Yes, to some extent, it is not the popular music that it might have been years ago as far as media and things of that nature. But when you go out there and you're playing heavy music, or you're playing a rock concert of any kind, they show up in drones, man. There is no way in hell you could go out to one of these concerts and walk away saying rock and roll is dead.
Rat's got an insurance commercial now. It's coming back. It's coming back.
Round and round. Yeah.
Do you know that entered? They're on the Billboard charts with that song for the first time since 1984
That's
because
amazing.
of that commercial.
I didn't know
crazy?
that.
I'll tell you a little story. I got a story. So when I was in high school, Rat was then called Mickey Rat. Mm-hmm. And Mickey Rat then got signed and turned into Rat, and that song was a hit. And us local boys, I was obviously younger than those guys, but we were very proud of that song and that band because we felt, well, they played in our local neighborhood. They played, the Vets Auditorium in Culver City. And there was a slight connection to them when that song became, I guess you could say, a hit. But the weird thing is coming up when it became, I guess you could say, more of a professional musician, I never crossed paths with those guys. I think I met Piercy one time at like an art gallery or some kind of weird exhibition about 4 years ago. And it was a little weird. He was complimentary, but it was sort of in passing. So I never actually got to know those guys. And I think the other thing too to understand is from being in Suicidal Tendencies, we were kind of the bad guys and
all of you except the fact that our mutual friend Brooks Wackerman was in the band for a time, and obviously his time in Infectious Grooves.
Right.
No, I got to ask you real quick.
I collaborated and did a hot sauce with Stephen Pearson.
Really?
Oh, really? Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yes, he seems like a very nice guy, and it was just strange that the band that we considered one of our local success stories, I had never really crossed paths with them, even in the professional realm. You know what I mean? Even on that level, until like 5 years ago, for like 2 minutes at some random art exhibition. But we were very proud that we heard their song on the radio, and that's kind of how it was. Like before I was in Suicidal Tendencies, I was really great friend. I still am. One of my best friends, Rocky George, the guitar player at the time, and that was the big break. Oh, Rocky's in Suicidal. It was 1984 or something. And I remember, a couple years later, Join the Army was just about to release, and Rodney on the Rocks, Rodney Bingenheimer, who was on K-Rock, he announced this new single from Suicidal Tendencies, and it was a song called War Inside My Head. And it was just really exciting to hear that song. I think I was leaving a gig that I was playing. I was kind of just leaving this parking lot in Hollywood. And to hear one of my best friends on the radio with this major debut announcement, and to hear that song so crushing was really exciting. And it just helped motivate me to want to do it even more, and to hopefully someday be on the radio. Or, with Infectious Grooves, I remember when Mike and I were working on that, my goal was just to see the record in the shop, nothing more. It was just, I just want to see that record on the shelf at like Tower Records or whatever. Yeah. That was kind of my dream. I think for all of us,
that's how it always starts off, man. You have these. It starts with these little goals, and then they just keep building upon each other. And obviously, we're thankful that you kept up with those smaller goals that kept building to to make you the huge success that you are and make some of the greatest music that I've enjoyed over the years. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well,
You've done all right for yourself, sir.
Yeah.
Well, what I think for all of us, no matter what you do, if it's in the culinary food or if, someone's, like I did construction. I did hardwood floors. I did drywall for a while. And, hard work is important in whatever you do. And I try to instill that to my kids. It's like, whatever you choose to do in life, man, you got to work hard because it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. Even like taking out, like for me, when I did the Jaco Pastorius documentary, it was 6 years of my life every single day. And I got to say, it's probably the hardest thing I ever did,
I'm glad you brought that up though, because that was a fantastic documentary, I just have to say. We missed it at the premiere. I remember Brooks saying, "Hey, you guys want to go to the premiere tonight?" And I can't remember what was going on that night. We missed the premiere in LA, but thank you for the invite on that, by the way, and thank you for putting that piece together, man. That is an incredible. If you guys haven't checked it out, go check out the Jaco Pastorius.
Yeah, it was a labor of love and very passion driven. But the amount, it was like I always say, it was like going through the jungle. And, sometimes you didn't see the light at the end of it, and sometimes, and then all of a sudden you started to, and it was like, okay, we're going to get through this. But it's very, very difficult. But to get through it and to have it, finally get out there and release, but also have its own legs, you know what I mean? Because we had no promo budget, and we're going against films that had like $1 million in promo budget. So my point is that was hard work. And there was so many times where it was just like, man, I can't do this. But then I think about, all these people that did interviews, and then I was broke, I lost all this, money. I had to do a GoFundMe campaign. And it was interesting because there were people that were like, oh, this guy is this rich rock star and he can't fund his own movie. And it was like, I was broke.
The disconnect with a lot of people sometimes of knowing what it goes into getting these sort of things done is, it could be a little bit, it could be a little bit frustrating too, because you're like, ooh, you don't see the other side of the coin, unfortunately.
It was gnarly, man. I had to deal with some stuff. But anyway, in the end, it was cool. So in all this, whatever, people choose to do, be productive, be proactive, stay positive, work towards your goals, work hard, and then it will happen. You know what I mean? And
and a lot of people who were working hard before this pandemic are some of the people that we are trying to raise money for right now in the Tao Cares COVID-19 Employee Relief Fund. That's what we're here discussing, amongst obviously a lot of other things. But yes, this is what we're trying to do. Head over to thischrissantos.com/auction for so many rad items that we've put up for a live auction bid that is going to last until 7 p.m. Pacific time, June 7th. That's coming up this Sunday. So right as it's closing, I haven't discussed this with Chris, so I'm going to put him on the spot right now. Maybe me and him can go live on IG and thank everyone who has been so gracious to bid.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and those links are right down here, along with the taogroup.com/taocares, and that's just a foundation site where you can put in any dollar amount if you can. Every dollar helps to these people who have worked so hard, these family members, these family workers of Chris's. He truly means that when he says that this was his working family and still is. A lot of things that have gone through for him to set this up, and he's just such a great person. We've got to know each other better over the last few weeks. First time I think we met was in New York as well, back in 2005 or 6, whatever it was. And so it's great to be.
I also kept Judo closing that night.
Yeah, I think this seems to be a going trend with people who hang out with Chris Santos. You might be prepare yourself to not make it up early the next morning.
Yeah. I have a friend who coined it. You got Santosted.
Oh, I like that. That's a great one. Got Santosted.
before the show, this one's going by so fast for me today. I'm just so fascinated with everything Robert's talking about. But I think we should talk about the fact that there is one more auction item. And Robert and I talked about it a little bit earlier today, and I think it's a really cool. Not only is the item awesome, but kind of the story behind it and why he chose it is awesome too. So, Robert,
are you prepared to bring that out right now, or do you need a minute?
No, I can bring it up if you would like. I can share my thoughts on the auction item.
Yes, I'd love that. Let's turn it over to Rob then.
Okay, so I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about an instrument that means something to me, and without obviously, it's like you've got your recording basses, you've got your touring instruments, but there is a bass, 5-string Warwick, that I have spent a lot of time being creative on, and it's helped me through a lot of late night sessions where I'm preparing bass lines or song ideas, and it lives over at our Metallica HQ studio, and I am going to actually put that up for auction. Whoa. And it's a special instrument, but I feel great about donating it to the cause, help some families and some individuals out there through Chris and his team and his family. So it's a black Warwick. I believe I'm not sure, maybe I got it 10 years ago or something, and it's a special instrument, and I think whoever has it will actually really be stoked.
That sounds like something I'm going to have to bid on. I mean, those guys might have some competition out there right now.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a flat black. It's just really cool. I've had a lot of quality time with it. So I will be donating a flat black 5-string Warwick, and it's my sort of signature model. So it has a lot of the specs that I would normally, actively play and record with. And that's
that is so rad. That is such a great piece right there, man. Thank you so much for that. And I'll let Chris talk for a minute about on
that.
Well,
just when you said earlier to me when we were talking privately, and you just said this bass is a bass that I've just done a lot of writing and creating on, and for you to be willing to part with that is like so meaningful to me. You have no idea.
Man.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Again, these are difficult times, and anything that anybody can do, to help the situation. I know that all across the board, there's a lot of things to donate to, and as much as we can, we should try to help those causes. As a band, I'm sure it's the same with Johnny and Avenged, but we always try to connect with our fans, and we try to connect with the local communities. You
guys have done a lot of stuff in Metallica. I mean, there was
food banks.
When we were out, when you guys took us out on tour in the summer when we did the stadium tour together, I remember there was a few dinners, after, and little meetings and talking, and you guys were very proactive on a lot of stuff, and you guys always have been. So as a community, I want to thank you personally for that. I mean, you guys have done so much. You're not just faking the funk, it's not just words. You guys are the real deal, getting involved and backing it up, and I think that's one of the things that us and Avenged look up to you guys in, and amongst some other things, but definitely that was something that was very inspiring to see behind the scenes as we've worked together over the years.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. It's definitely important to try to to give back if you can, and we're in a position to where we've been able to do that. And it just feels good, man. It feels good. One of the things, and I know you guys can relate to this, when you go to a concert these days, of course, depending on the city, you see unity. You know what I mean? You see the unity out there. It's not, when you're standing on that stage and you look out in that crowd, anywhere in the world, there's unity, there's peace, and people of all sort of ethnic backgrounds, and everybody
Absolutely.
comes together through the music, right? And has a great positive time. And even at the Slayer show, I know you guys want us to see this. I mean, the most intense pit. I always say that, was telling Lars and James that the slam pit resembled a drain of water, you know what I mean, at the Forum, and it was just so many people. And
I went to the last two shows, and the second to the last show, I decided to get in that pit. And I'm 50 years old. It wasn't the greatest idea I've had. But those days are
I'm sure
those days are over.
It wasn't the greatest idea, but it wasn't the worst either. I'm sure you had a fucking blast.
One of my chefs, Derek Prince, who I know is watching right now, was like, "Let's go, let's go, let's go!" And I was like, "Yeah, why am I doing this? I stopped doing this 20 years ago."
Everybody I know that went in that pit came out injured. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's like,
but injured is like, but it's just injured, right? That's another point to the community and the unity at these shows. I've always noticed, especially among festivals and big shows around the world, everyone's getting crazy in the pit and having a good time. But as soon as someone goes down with a more serious injury, everyone unifies right there and is quick to get them out and get them to the proper places they need to go. And even, I'm sure you've had to do it too, Rob, where you're in the middle of a show and someone goes down very seriously for various reasons in the crowd, and you got to take a step back, step off the stage, and let the professionals come in and handle the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference these days is, there's definitely, people are a lot more helpful. Back in the days, in the earlier days of Suicidal, it was quite the opposite. There was a lot of violence, and it was just part of coming up,
Well, I don't want to get into the violence part of it. We're all staying really positive right now.
No.
But I do want to ask a little bit about some of those early days, though, because as I mentioned before, our mutual friend Brooks Wackerman, who was in Infectious Grooves with you and stuff like that. I just have to ask while I have you here, because I remember my first impressions of Brooks. What was your first impressions of Brooks when you met him and ultimately was in Infectious Grooves with him?
So Brooks is, obviously, as he is for you, he is a dear friend. I mean, one of my best great friends, and obviously, absolute phenomenal drummer, always has been. Long story short, Infectious Grooves back in, I don't know, it must have been 95 or something. We were auditioning drummers. Josh Freeze had just left, another amazing young drummer at the time. He was 19. He played on Art of Rebellion, Suicidal record, and then he ended up playing on Sarsipius' Art, an Infectious record. So we were checking out a couple of other drummers. Actually, I'm not going to mention any names, but a really amazing drummer who's a few years older than Brooks for sure. But Brooks actually was called in because he was rehearsing next door with a band called Bad for Good.
Oh, yeah.
He was 15 years old. And I used to hear this kid drumming, and I go, that kid's insane. He's got the feel of Stephen Perkins and Josh Freeze. What's going on over there? And then I see this long-haired, kind of little, he looked like he was 13. And
he looks like a little mop. Let's be honest. He looks like a little stick with long golden mop.
His parents used to drive him in the truck. Moms would get out of the back, and she'd be sitting back there with the drum kit, Brooks in front. It was so cool to see that kind of family unity. And so he ended up auditioning, and originally I remember it was supposed to be as a warm-up for this other guy who was supposed to get the gig. And Brooks, at 15 years old, stole the show, man, and got the gig right there. I felt so bad for the other guy. He spent weeks learning the set, the live set, all the albums, and Brooks comes in there, and it was a given. So obviously we stayed friends and did a lot of work over the years. We still, we're still super tight. I just talked to him the other day.
He just did was that the last tour that you guys did, Infectious, when you guys went down to Brazil?
We did one show in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, just before all this kind of craziness started. And it was amazing because that was the first show I had played with Brooks in Infectious. I think it'd been in 25 years, man. So to be able to have that experience with him on that level, playing those songs, was super great. And, he's just a super amazing, positive human being.
He really is.
Just phenomenal. And he's so respected, but he's so humble.
He is.
So humble.
He's very humble. His sense of humor is ultimately awesome, but super dry, as you know. He's like the best dude. And you know,
and I'm so glad he hooked up with you guys. I mean, no disrespect to anything he was doing before, because that's all great. But
of course, yeah.
You know, it's really neat to see him just really be able to spread his wings on that level and creatively get involved. And
oh, dude, he's flourishing with us as many can hear. Like we're the ones that are happy to have him. Let me be honest about that. The guy's a bit of a freak there. And I just had to put on one last little thing on that is you mentioned the Bad for Good band and that look that he had. It just almost looked like a little feminine preteen kind of guy. And then
absolutely.
And then he's in Infectious Groove in Suicidal before he's 20 years old, and I just love those promo shots of all you guys looking so hard, and then there's Brooks in there, knowing who he is and everything. Like, it doesn't necessarily look that out of place because he kind of filled in the parts some of the times, but then other times like he calls himself the accountant of the band in the promo shot.
Yes, well he'd have on like a kind of a plaid, like a plaid like overcoat or something weird, and I remember when we were playing with Ozzy, we were doing some rehearsals with Ozzy for some demos, and he would literally come in with like a pink Argyle sweater, and I knew it used to freak Ozzy out.
I love that it would actually freak him out. Like the guy who ate a fucking bat's head off on stage is freaked out by this guy showing up in a pink fucking Argyle.
They just couldn't get over the look. I mean, there's guys playing so amazing, but then the guy's coming in there with a pink Argyle sweater and they go, he looks like the fucking accountant, and it was like, and it's so funny because we had so much history together, and it was really great actually touring with you guys because it was neat to have kind of all that energy again, back on the tour and
absolutely,
having him around and just seeing you guys out there and
dude, we had so much fun with you guys on that tour. Honestly, it was such a great tour for us. Like we had such a blast with you guys.
And I remember we went out. I remember we went out to dinner in Denver, and I was certain that I was going to pay. I was like, okay, I'm going to go out to dinner. It's going to be my treat. I'm telling, Jeff, my assistant, this, and then all of a sudden, Matt like busts out the credit. It's like no, I got. I'm just like whoa. That never happens.
No.
It happens with Chris. It happens with Chris.
Well, that's because Chris is just bringing out the food that he has in the back. That's
it. Hey, but I wanted to just mention. I saw that tour. I was at the Rose Bowl show, and not to state the obvious, but obviously Metallica's got one of the biggest live shows in the history of rock and roll, but you guys eventually were right there energy wise, and I don't know, but I imagine it must be really difficult to bring that energy night after night after night after night after night, and it's just incredible the show that you both put on. It's really something to behold. Like, it's just crazy. It's
I appreciate
wild.
that. I'd like to say thank you in credit of that, but it's really more for me. Maybe it's different for Robert. I only speak for myself on that, but you mentioned about the energy at night in and night out. For me, that comes from the fans, man. I could be having the worst day, and 5 minutes before we get out on stage and when we get in front of those screaming fans, it turns on, and you're just out there and you're having fun.
Yeah, it's healing. Yeah, healing for sure.
Robert, I have a question for you. So I know that often, I don't know if you do it every night, but I know you and Kirk do these kind of, acoustic, or you and Kirk do these little covers and whatnot. How did that come about?
Okay, so long story short, we were in Europe. This wasn't the last European tour, but the tour before that, we were in, where was it? Amsterdam. And we had tried a couple of there was a duet moment where we were supposed to go up, we were supposed to play like a Metallica song that's maybe like a deep cut. So like we play I Disappear or something. And we started noticing that we weren't getting the result we wanted. It was like we'd go up there and we start playing like Eye of the Beholder or something, and then the crowd's expecting, you know, James to come out and sing, and it's like, man, this ain't working. You know what I mean? It was like,
yeah, they feel like it. They were feeling more like it was a prelude.
They were feeling like it was this prelude moment, and then it was like, we got, you know, I started thinking we got to do something different. So Kirk came out this one night, and it was actually in the U.S., and he started playing that song by Chic, Freak Out. And I'm going, like, totally caught me off guard. And I'm like, oh, damn, okay, I see where he's going. Like, he's walking out to the front of the Snake Pit playing this, like, funk jam. And then he got me the first night because I didn't exactly know the bass line, so I improvised it. And then the second night, I got it. And then, so it kind of started there for a split second, though we were still doing the Metallica deep cuts. And then we got to Europe, and we were in Amsterdam, and one of our management team members suggested, why don't you play Golden Earring, you know, like Radar Love? Nice. Check that out. And we're like, really? So I started playing dum 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 da dum da dum dum. You know, started playing the bass line, and then the crowd started singing. And it was like, hold on a minute, there's something here. So then we started to kind of formulate some local bands from each city. Like, one of the highlight moments was in Prague. You know, we played a country song called Jozimbazi, which was huge. And then we played in Barcelona a gypsy kind of flamenco acoustic song called, you know, by an artist called Peret. And it's called Vivo Muerto. And I'm singing in Spanish, I'm doing my best. And the people went nuts, and we go, hold on, we got something here. So what we ended up doing, we came out of that tour, we scraped through it, okay? It wasn't perfect, but we scraped through it. And then when we got home, we did some US dates, we did all that, but then when we knew we were going back to Europe where it really works, we said, okay, I'm going deep. So I did a bunch of research, and I researched every single city, even Estonia, and I found out what cool, either punk, alternative, country, didn't matter the style, and I learned the fucking language, and I did the phonetic, the lyric, and we went out there and did full arrangements. I'm talking about, if there was an accordion solo, Kirk was playing it. You know what I mean?
That's fucking rad.
Like a violin.
You guys were going and doing your fucking homework. I love that.
So we did homework, and we really, really went into it. I was going to Hawaii to work with him on the arrangements, spend like, you know, 5 days there strictly on the duets. Weren't even surfing. We were just boom. So we put a lot of hard work in.
Wow. So, wait. I gotta interject there. For you and Kirk to not even be surfing, you were busy working on these arrangements, knowing both of you. Yeah. I mean, that's a sacrifice right there.
I mean, we were surfing a little bit, but that wasn't the priority. We were actually really spending time on this. So I always say on that last tour run, because we were in, you know, these massive stadiums, sold out shows, and every night was great. But there was a handful of grand slams where people were crying, and it was like this heavy, like, you know, you're paying tribute to somebody in like Moscow, who is like the David Bowie, you know, of Moscow, you know, and people are just like, oh my God, they don't know what they're gonna get. All of a sudden, you surprise them, and they get what they didn't expect, you know. Johnny Hallyday in Paris at Stade de France, 85,000 people. So to be up there and to feel that energy and emotionally connect with the crowd on that level was special. But it was such hard work. I don't know how we could do it again.
Dude, I can tell you put in a lot of work for it. Just naming these artists that I've never heard of and phonetically getting the pronunciation in and everything like that. That is impressive in itself. I have to give you kudos on that.
I was meeting with people. Like, I would even sometimes by phone, and I'd be there for 2 hours getting the language pronunciation right. So it was a lot of work. But again, going back to what we were saying earlier in life, no matter what you do, man, if you visualize, put in the work and the energy, you'll get there. And sometimes you'll take some beatings. I remember a couple of the shows when we first started doing it, man. Beatings, bro. Yeah. Beatings. I remember in Italy, I got to start.
It's got to be bad too, because, you know, a Metallica crowd and a Metallica concert has all these huge moments, and if you're taking a beating, it's like coming from these heights back down to maybe somewhere around here is a much farther drop than maybe some other concerts you might have seen before.
Yeah, no, you're naked up there. You're naked, works and all. And I remember there was a couple of them, but there was one it was in Pennsylvania. It was like college. It was over there where Penn State is. And holy cow, man. I thought we would play like the fight song for Penn State. Man, we got like 10 seconds into that thing and nobody cared. And it was like, oh my God. And I stopped playing. I literally stopped playing.
That's an amazing moment. I've like stopped playing shit before too. And I'm just like, where am I?
I stopped playing. I was so embarrassed. And Kurt kept playing. And then luckily we kind of went into a Metallica, like in the U.S., we would parlay it with a local song, and these are again U.S. songs, and then we would always kind of justify it by going into a Metallica, Dyer's Eve or something to just say, see, okay, we screwed that up, but we got this, and so it was kind of our savior in the States.
So would you say you worked out a lot of those bass lines on that bass that you're auctioning off for this great fundraiser?
Oh yeah, I played. Yeah, that stuff was when I was because my room at HQ. Sometimes I stay there, when I up north because I live in LA, and I would work on that stuff vigorously late at night on that instrument. Yeah, so. It's interesting how you can cultivate an idea and then you can bring it to fruition, but you gotta get your ass kicked a few times before, and then you figure out the formula. And it's no different. I mean, I'm sure, Chris, for you with food and you're experimenting with a dish and it's not happening. It sucks.
Speaking of formulas and experimenting with dishes, before we have to end this thing sooner than later, hopefully Rob can stay with us for a little bit longer. I wanted to make sure though that we walk through our very last cocktail together, if you don't mind. Like Rob, I don't know if you know, but I've been having a professional walk me through some Jagermeister drinks that I've never had in my life. I've never thought to put Jagermeister together in a cocktail. It's always been one of those things that I've just shot. I
and myself as well. Yeah.
So he's an ambassador for Jagermeister, as I'm sure you know as well. He uses it in cooking, all these great things. And the fine people over at Jagermeister have kind of been the unofficial sponsor right here. Go ahead.
What I want to say really quick is my christening into Metallica happened way before I was in the band. It was in Madrid. I think it was 93, last show of the European tour. And I'm sitting at a table with Lars and James, and I thought I was drinking Jaeger with them. Big bottle. I drank the whole bottle because they were sitting there kind of sipping their shot, like sipping it. And I was just bam, 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 and I had a flight at 7 a.m, and I was.
Did you make the flight? Did you make the flight?
I made the flight, but I was like literally almost hallucinating, and it was fun. It was fun, and I remember I remember going on the flight and like kind of christening everybody in the on board, all right, this flight is blessed, everybody. I'm here to bless you. It's like. Peace and love. I'm here to bless you.
The image in my head that I'm imagining of up all night just slamming shots of Jaeger and being up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh man!
Yeah,
I mean, I've been in similar spots, but I haven't. I've been in similar spots. Well, we could get to a little bit more of that the times that you and I have shared over and the first times we met together. But I do want to take the time to thank Jagermeister real quick because. Part of the things that have been up on our auction site, or I should say up on Chris's auction site at Chris Santos, this is chrissantos.com/auction, have been brought by Jagermeister. Some different packages that they put together, really cool. By the way, thank you, Jaeger, for saving my shoes and jacket. I just got that yesterday, so everyone at Jaeger that's watching, thank you so much for that. And thank you guys again. And let's let Chris plug them a little bit further as the ambassador and walk me through this cocktail.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been working with Jagermeister since 2013. I develop food recipes for them. Sometimes cocktails, although they have a brilliant, amazing mixologist, cocktail curator, brand meister named Willie Shine, who actually came up with all these cocktails. But it was really cool because my introduction to Jagermeister was they put me on the Mayhem Festival for 3 weeks. So they hired me and they gave me my own tour bus, and I got to go on tour, and we would do these eat and greets every day where people would come up and have the ribs that are sort of our famous black cherry Jagermeister ribs, and that's how I got to meet, Phil Demmel and Jamie Josta and all those guys. So that was sort of how I started working for them, but it's since really grown into a lot more, me really just kind of spreading the word that it's a great ingredient in cooking because it has so many botanicals, aromatics, spices, herbs. And they have this new product, which I've been talking about every week or every appearance. It's the cold brew, which I'm in love with.
I have. Chris doesn't have it for the first time tonight.
Yes.
I'm calling him out on it, by the way, too, that I'm the one that has it. I'm not the actual ambassador or the one sponsored by Jagermeister, but I'm the one that has it tonight.
Yep.
Proceed, sir.
This drink is the simplest one of all. It's a cold brew lemonade, and it's very simple. You're just gonna take 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice. Am I gonna start this one with some ice and a shaker, right? Yeah, you're gonna put it in a shaker with ice, and it's just 3 ingredients. It's gonna be your lemon juice, 3/4 of an ounce.
3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, fresh lemon juice right here, people.
Yep. You didn't have fresh yesterday.
I did it. I know. I was lazy. I apologize for that. And then the next ingredient now?
Simple syrup, same 3/4 of an ounce.
All right. This is my own simple syrup, Rob. I don't know if you know that, but I made my own simple syrup from scratch.
Oh, nice.
Early on, and I've been using the same batch for all these drinks. And then
2 ounces of water.
2 ounces of water.
I'm writing this down, by the way.
You're basically making lemonade, right? And so you're gonna shake that pretty aggressively.
Okay.
And then after, you want to really, really shake this one up good, and then you're going to strain it into a highball glass or Collins glass over.
I got my Collins again.
Say again.
Sorry, that was probably pretty loud for you. I got my Collins glass here.
Yes.
So put some ice in there.
Put some ice in there. Pour your lemonade in, and then you're just going to do a cold brew float.
Now, is that going to be like a traditional float that I would do on a well drink where I pour over the back of a spoon, or is it okay if I just drop it on top?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's up to you. I think that would be a nice touch.
Let me see if I have a spoon I could pour it over the back and be fancy.
And we're looking at about an ounce and a half for that cold brew.
Okay. Let me get the lemonade in there first. The first drink I learned about the back of the spoon pour was actually a New York sour. You're familiar with this, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. You know what I haven't asked you in any of these episodes is how you got this passion for mixology and creating cocktails.
I mean, there's an obvious answer there, but no, honestly, it really came from the fact that I did this remodel on this house. I wanted to have a bar. I always thought it was really cool, and I wanted to learn about more drinks that were out there, just completely out of education. I had my friends, they ask you, I don't know if it's this way for you guys too, but everyone's like, what do you want for your birthday? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, I really don't know. I don't care. I've gotten to an age where I do not care about my birthday. But every once in a while, I'm like, I'd like to learn about something. Maybe get me a book on something. So several of my wife and some friends give me some old speakeasy recipe books where they only show you how to make the said cocktail, but they give you a little bit of backstory on it too, and where it originated from. And I find that very interesting, especially among some of those early turn of the century cocktails that have been made. So thank you for those books. Books can change everything, people. All right, so I'm just gonna do this floater on it. You said about an ounce and a half.
About an ounce and a half. Yep.
I'm gonna eyeball that. That was probably closer to 2 ounces, but that's okay.
A little lemon wheel if you got it for garnish.
I sure do.
And then enjoy that refreshing beverage.
I'll let you know how it is.
I wish I had.
Hey, let's get a cheers. I know you guys don't have one of these in front of you, but you got something you're drinking, I'm sure.
I got a cup of tea. Cheers.
Perfect, cup of tea. All right, Gatorade. All right, cheers, guys. Thank you guys so much.
So I've got my daughter starting to rehearse her drums upstairs, so you're gonna start hearing beats here in a minute.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Hey, in case you haven't heard already, my son's down there screaming and my dogs are barking. I can't do anything about that when we're doing
That's awesome.
Let me just clean up here real quick. But before we go on too much further, I want to talk about what we're here for, and that is the Tao Group Cares COVID-19 Employee Relief Fund that we're trying to raise money for. If you have the means, please go to thisischrissantos.com/auction. There's a lot of great items on there. Robert just put one up that should be live now, and if it's not, I know Amy, Chris's assistant, will get it up right away. It's a 5-string Warwick flat black bass, which is also fucking ironic, Robert. I just want to say that the bass that I donated, although not 5-string or Warwick, is flat black as well. I think we're a little too like-minded on that, but
can't go wrong.
Bass players will be bass players, and if you cannot bid on these things, or you get outbid in the next few days, and you would still want to help, we would very much appreciate you. And head over to taogroup.com/taocares. Put in any dollar amount that you can afford. We'd be very appreciative of it. And even if that still isn't something you can do, just spreading the word of this great foundation that we're trying to raise money for would be so fucking appreciated. And I'll let Chris talk a little bit now about how this affected him personally with the over 52 restaurants in America, Singapore, Australia, as well as, Chris firsthand felt what this pandemic and this coronavirus can do. We talked a little bit about that last night with Lizzie. So I'm gonna turn it over to you for a second here, Chris, and just let you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's been a difficult road. I myself tested positive for the virus, and it was a horrible experience. I wasn't in the hospital on a ventilator or anything like that, thank God. But I was sicker than I ever was. I was self-quarantined in New York by myself for over a month. It's really exciting tomorrow to be opening the first of our over 50 venues.
Is that which one of those venues is that? Is that your Beauty and SX?
Yeah, Beauty and Essex at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas, which opened today. Awesome. And it's very, 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 very exciting. But it's also, there's a new normal now, right? We have to change procedurally almost everything to protect people and to, first and foremost, protect our family of employees, but also to protect our guests. So there's lots of protocols, that just, we always run a extremely clean and sanitary workplace and kitchen, but we have to go the extra mile now because everyone's a little bit freaked out, and we want to make sure that we just deliver a flawless experience like we always do, but with that extra, attention to detail to keep everyone safe and sound, because, this is scary. This is scary stuff. I know a handful of people who've died. And I know how sick I felt, and I didn't even have it that bad where I needed to be hospitalized, and it was the worst I've ever felt. I coughed for like 66 straight days. It was really crazy. And I only know that because I started coughing like the day after I went to see Kiss at Staples. So I know the date that I started coughing, and I worked my way backwards, but also it's just really devastated my family, my work family. And as I've said before, a lot of them have been with me for, upwards of 20 years, but even the ones that have been were only with us for a couple of months. It doesn't matter. My heart bleeds for them. And so I'm really excited to be, opening tomorrow night and bringing them back to work and getting their livelihood started. It's kind of an honor for me personally to be the first restaurant in the entire group to kind of go live. So that's exciting. But it's a little bit scary. It's a little bit daunting, it's.
As you said before, like this is happening live for you right now. You're in your chef's outfit right now. Just came upstairs from opening up the kitchen and taking the time, again showing what a great heart you have, Chris. Taking the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go right down.
Yeah, you're gonna go right back.
I'm gonna go right downstairs and start tasting everything and making sure everything's proper, and so we can open tomorrow. It's
which is
it's not the worst thing in the world.
No, it's not a bad gig, right? But just the fact that you have taken the time to do this, I want to appreciate you, or say that I appreciate you rather so much for teaming up with me and allowing me to do what I can to help. And this has been a rad couple of weeks, Chris. I really appreciate it.
You made this happen. I can't thank you enough. Shout to Jamie Josta. Shout out to Lizzie, who I've been texting with all day. She's such a doll.
Yeah.
And obviously, Robert, thank you so much
No
for being
problem.
here.
Dude, there's
I
one
wanted to ask
last
you that
thing
question.
I want to bring up with Robert before we go. As I'm hearing the drums in the background, I
I hear
know
the
that,
drums
this
too.
is
Yeah.
this is fucking awesome though. It's a true musical family, and you guys, I love seeing that every once in a while. You don't post all the time on your social media, but when you do, it's always poignant and to the point. So I'm glad to follow. Everyone, what is it on Instagram again? It's just Rob Trujillo, right?
Yeah.
Just at Rob Trio, and you're going to see a lot of great photos where the family's doing, and just what a fun, loving, and great person Robert is. I'm glad to call him a friend, and thanks so much for being here. I just want to bring up one last story. That was probably the last time I think we were in person together with you, Rob. Was, I don't know if you remember this. We were standing in the lobby. Metallica, Iron Maiden, and Avenged Sevenfold underneath this staircase in Toronto. And I remember on one side I had Robert Trujillo, on the other side I had Steve Harris. And for me, I was just like, I'm standing between two of my heroes of bass playing. And I just like, okay, this is too crazy. This is too cool. So I want to thank you for that moment and all the other moments we had on that tour. I would love to get you back on the show, and we could take a deeper dive into some shit.
Let's do it. Let's do it, man. I'm glad to be a part of this in helping Chris, and also, being here for you as well. And we can continue this and have
and
fun
by the
with
way,
it.
guys,
Yeah.
when I reopen Beauty and Essex in LA, the three of us, we're all neighbors pretty much. We should get together and have dinner as soon as we get open.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Sounds
sounds
good to
like
me.
a fucking great time.
Awesome.
All right,
All right.
so I'm just gonna put a bow on this real quick. Everybody, write down here in the description is chrissantos.com/auction. That's where you're gonna go to get all these great items. These, seriously, I know you probably heard it in every other auction. One of a kind items. These are one of a kind items. Rob just explained what his was. One that he's been a bass he's been playing for 10 years and working out songs on. The bass that I had was played on the Last Stage World Tour. The jacket that Lizzie wore is up there is actually killing it. Still smells like Lizzie. That's probably why it's still killing it. The Jamie Josta Slayer Ball Sweat fucking shorts that are still up there and have been bid on, by the way. Jamie Josta also put in another couple items that I want to point out again. The Zakk Wylde figurine that he had accidentally broke right before. I believe at this time he's probably put it back together. Was that safe to say, Chris?
Yep. Yes.
That's
He
put
texted
back
me
together
today,
by
actually.
his own hands, and to me that makes it even more special, as well as some lyrics, some handwritten lyrics that he put out there. There's a dinner with me and Chris when everything gets back together, and up to four other people. That's a great one to bid on. There's meet and greets. Chris has got a few packages up there. Jagermeister's got some packages put together. This is really great, unique stuff, so you're going to want to check it out if you can bid on it. And as I said, the other link right here in the description, that's for taogroup.com/taocares. And that is dollar donations if you can donate, cool. If at the end of this bid, again, I forgot to say it, but this bid is going to end at 7 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday, June 7th. So get your bids in before that. Keep coming back and checking it out. Me and Chris are going to go live on Instagram in probably the last half hour of the bid and thank everybody who did. So look out for that. And then, anything you want to add there, Chris?
Thank you.
Awesome,
Just
man.
thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you both so much for hanging with me tonight. We're going to do this in person very soon, I hope. It seems like things are going to get back to that moment. And again, I thank you so much for your time, Rob. So much for everything with you, Chris. Let's stay in touch, as I know we will, and we'll see you guys all on the other side.
All right,
Awesome.
brothers.
Thanks. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, you too. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching the episode. Thank you guys so much for those who are bidding and or donating, telling other people about this great foundation and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to raise money for. We understand that times are very tough, so even just telling other people about it really does help raise awareness to what's going on and what we're trying to do. It's super helpful. I can't thank you guys enough for tuning in, at the very least, for tuning in. And yeah, I'll plug everything real quick. Head over to drinkswithjohnny.com. There's some exclusive merch there too, as well as the archive. Head over to anywhere you follow social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Drinks with Johnny, all across the board. Yeah, oh, I keep forgetting to mention, this is also as a podcast that releases every Monday morning. I have some new episode for you. That's usually been pre-recorded. I'm enjoying doing the podcast side of this stuff too. So again, I really appreciate every single one of you who come here tonight in support, and hopefully you continue to come back here. And everyone, please stay safe out there. Together we can make the changes that we desperately need in today's world. Stay positive. As Rob mentioned, positivity is a good thing to have, and we can get through this together, and hopefully at the end of it we will all be a better people. So without further ado, thank you guys so much. Until next time, cheers.